Have you ever just wondered what life is really like in the most remote, inhabited places on the planet? I mean, places where the rest of the world feels like a rumor. Well, today, that's where we're going. We're going to journey to 3 incredible islands, each with its own powerful story about what it means to be isolated.
So that's the big question we're asking. What does it actually mean to live somewhere that's defined by its distance from everyone and everything else? We're going to see how people create communities, how they connect or don't connect, and how they find meaning in places most of us will probably never see with our own eyes. All right, so here's where we're headed. Our trip has 3 stops, each one a little more isolated than the last. We'll start in the Faroe Islands, a place that's found this wild balance between being remote and having some seriously modern engineering. Then it's off to Socotra, an island so unique it honestly feels like another planet. And our final stop? St Helena, the most remote inhabited island of them all, a place once famous for being a natural prison. Okay, first up, the Faroe Islands. Picture this, a collection of islands tucked away in the wild North Atlantic, somewhere between Iceland and Norway. It's a land of Vikings, of these impossibly sheer cliffs, and really a land of paradox. It's both totally cut off from the world and somehow brilliantly connected to it. To really get the Faroes, you gotta start with the sheep. I mean, the name itself, Faroe, literally means sheep islands. And it is no joke. These woolly residents outnumber people by a pretty big margin. It's the kind of place that reminds you that nature is still very, very much in charge. But here's where that whole isolation thing gets a crazy twist. To link up their 50,000 or so residents, who are spread out over 18 different islands, the Faroese have built this unbelievable network of 25 tunnels. And they didn't just carve them through mountains. No, they burrowed right under the Atlantic Ocean itself. And this is their masterpiece. For a population smaller than a lot of towns, they built the world's first ever undersea roundabout. Think about that. It's more than just a road. It's a huge statement. It says that they value community and connections so much that they're willing to defy the very ocean that separates them. And yet, engineering can't fix everything. This quote from a 17-year-old who lives there really gets to the heart of it. You can build all the tunnels in the world, but that feeling of being physically on the edge of the map, that's a powerful and really complicated thing, especially for the younger generation. So, if the Faroe Islands use engineering to fight their isolation, our next stop shows us what happens when isolation wins. Welcome to Socotra. This island, part of Yemen, is a place where isolation wasn't conquered, it was cultivated. And in the process, it created a world that feels completely and totally alien. The real key to understanding Socotra is its deep, ancient separation from everything else. It literally broke off from the African mainland more than 6 million years ago. That huge amount of time allowed life here to just go off on its own evolutionary path. It's like finding a lost chapter from Earth's history, perfectly preserved. And the result of that? It's just staggering. 37% of all the plant life on Socotra is endemic. That means you can't find it anywhere else on the entire planet. Let that sink in. This isn't just an island, it's a living museum of one-of-a-kind species. And here are its 2 most famous and, frankly, weirdest residents. You've got the dragon's blood tree, which looks like an umbrella that's been blown inside out and bleeds this dark red sap. And then there's the bottle tree, which looks like something straight out of a Dr. Seuss book. These aren't just plants. They're icons of the island's wonderful strangeness. But this strangeness isn't just a tourist spectacle. It's deeply, deeply loved. Just listen to this from a local man named Mr. Solomon, who actually runs a nursery to protect the endangered dragon's blood tree. His words, they show you this profound link between the people and their land. To him, this tree isn't some curiosity. It's family, it's heritage, it's survival. And you know what? That personal connection is reflected on a national level too. The dragon's blood tree is such a powerful symbol of Socotra's identity that it's right there on Yemen's money. It is a national treasure worth celebrating and protecting at all costs. All right, now for the final leg of our journey. We've arrived at the absolute peak of isolation, St Helena. If Socotra is isolated by biology, St Helena is defined by pure, crushing distance. We're talking about a tiny volcanic speck in the middle of the vast South Atlantic, thousands of kilometers from the nearest continent. I mean, it is out there. The island's entire history has been shaped by how remote it is.
For centuries, it was a vital pit stop for ships on long voyages. Then, in 1815, that exact same isolation made it the perfect high-security prison for its most famous resident, Napoleon. For 500 years, the only way in or out was by sea, a reality that only changed, get this, in 2017 with the opening of an airport.
And that history creates such a fascinating contrast, right? The island owes its place in the history books to imprisoning Napoleon Bonaparte, a man who tried to conquer an entire continent. Today, that very same island is home to this quiet community of just a few thousand people who call themselves saints, just living their lives in what was once the world's most secure jail cell. And what's amazing is how the whole perception has flipped. Where Napoleon saw a prison, a modern resident sees peace. This quote just captures it beautifully. The very thing that made St Helena a place of punishment is now something cherished by the people who choose to call it home.
So, after this journey to the absolute edges of the world, what have we learned? We've seen 3 completely different answers to that question of what it means to be remote. So let's just recap what we've seen. We saw the Faroe Islands using incredible human ingenuity to punch through isolation and stay connected. We went to Socotra, where that same remoteness became a kind of cradle for life you can't find anywhere else. And we landed on St Helena, where extreme remoteness became the island's entire identity. Each one shows us that isolation isn't just one thing. It can be a challenge, a creative force, or even a state of peace.
And that really brings us to our final thought. Maybe these remote places have something to teach us. In a world where we are constantly striving for more connection, where there's this endless buzz of noise, what can we learn from the quiet places, from the people who choose to live there? In a hyper-connected world, what can we learn from being apart?